All right, guys. Our next guest is making his return to the program for the very first time in over 2 years. He was the first ever BJJ black belt in Ireland, the founder and head coach of Straight Blast Gym in Dublin, Ireland, where he coaches such fighters as Gunnar Nelson, Artem Lobov, James Gallagher, and of course, Conor McGregor. He will also be coming down to Australia in April for his live shows, Win or Learn an Evening with John Kavanagh, and there are only two of them. We'll be talking about that in just a moment. John, it's been a while. We've missed you. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How's it going?
Yeah, how's it going? It's great to be back. I missed you guys too.
Well, we really appreciate the time, John. We know you're a very, very busy man these days and you've been doing a lot of traveling recently. Tell us, where are you joining us from at the moment?
I'm joining you from my living room where I've just eaten my own body weight in pancakes because it's Pancake Tuesday and it is after 11 p.m.
Very nice, very nice. We can't lie. We're a little bit jealous. I'm just curious. How does John Kavanagh have his pancakes? Are you a lemon and sugar kind of guy? Are we talking maple syrup, or do you go a bit of fruit?
Actually, almost everything you said there. I went for a couple with golden syrup, and then I had the last one with lemon and sugar. And then my girlfriend spoils me. She cuts up strawberries and puts blueberries around the side of the plate for the presentation.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have a lot of good pancakes here in Australia, so we're looking forward for you to come down next month in April to do these 2 live onstage shows where me and Casper will actually be interviewing you and chatting about your life and experiences and philosophies, and then the fans will get an opportunity to do a bit of a Q&A and ask their own questions. John, what made you want to do something like this and share your story on this side of the world?
Well, I mean, I've always wanted to go over there. I've never had the opportunity. I was kind of half waiting for a UFC to visit and me have a fighter on the card so I could kind of mix business with pleasure, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
One of my best friends is moved over there over 10 years ago, and then just recently SBG Sydney has opened with arguably my first ever real BJJ coach running it, Ben Power. So I have a few reasons to visit there, and now it just worked out with this tour. So it all just worked out, and it wasn't easy trying to carve out. Basically, I'm gone for a month out of my gym, which is a long time. It's actually the longest I've been out of the country in I don't know how many years. So it all just worked out well, and I'm really, really excited to get over there.
Yeah, that must be somewhat nerve-wracking as well, obviously leaving your gym and leaving Ireland for a whole month. And, I mean, even though you're no stranger to media and getting a lot of attention these days, does this kind of blow your mind that there's such a demand to have you share your journey all over the world? I mean, obviously there are a lot of fantastic coaches all over the world in MMA, but, you know, they're not being flown to Australia or even other places to share their life experiences. Is that kind of surreal for you that you've reached that level?
You know, I almost don't believe it, and I'm waiting for the guys to send me the tickets, and if 2 people show up on the night, we'll have a bit of crack with it. But I don't really get it, if I'm being honest, but I'm going to do my best when I get over there to entertain and get across what made the story go our way over the last decade or so. But yeah, it's surreal to me to think that some people are going to show up to hear some guy from Ireland talk about MMA and how he got to where he is, but I'm extremely grateful that they are.
A funny story from 2 years ago when you were on the program last was when you sort of talked to us about a funny story about how when you go grocery shopping, if somebody asks you where the onions are, they'll address you by name because they recognize you. And this was way back before Conor McGregor even fought Dennis Siver. So tell us, what's it like these days? It must be impossible for you to walk into any kind of shop or go up to the letterbox without being spotted.
Very true. For the most part, it's enjoyable. People come up and they just want to say, you know, the story has moved them or they've taken some inspiration from where they've gone. But I'm not going to lie, the last couple of weeks have been a bit rough. Literally every person stops me and says, so, is the Mayweather fight happening? That's getting a bit tiring.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, we're going to add two more people to that list in just a moment. But, I mean, that interview that we did with you from 2 years ago, I was actually listening to it the other day, and it's still very fascinating and worth a listen for anyone who hasn't checked it out. And you mentioned then how you never got into MMA for money or for fame, and how, even when there was no guaranteed future ahead in MMA, you and your team, even going back to the days of training in the garage, as you called it, you guys just had to grind away to, improve and become the best martial artist that you could be. When you look at how far you've come now and all the success you've achieved, are there still things that you want to achieve in your career and goals that haven't been reached, John? Or have you sort of been able to pretty much tick all the boxes from when you sort of started, and is the rest now just basically icing on the cake?
Right from day one, my very first gym, it's like you said, we sometimes refer to it as the garage or as the shed. And I started that 16 years ago when I come out of university. And one of the very first guys to walk in my door was an Aussie, a purple belt Ben Power. He now runs SBG Sydney, and he got me going. He was back then, 16 years ago. If you met a purple belt, you were basically meeting God. We were all a bunch of raw white belts, and he gave me a great start. Now, to answer your question, have I any more goals? Honestly, I'd see it. I'm obviously very strongly associated with Conor McGregor and all his success, but I would see it as somewhat as a failure as a coach to produce one person that's reached the top. I want to for my own self, to be honest, more than anything else. I want to show myself that the training methods and the how we go about doing things is an effective way, and to do that, you got to produce more than one champion.
I mean, when you're coming down here in Australia, the shows that we're doing will be April 7th in Sydney, and then the next one April 18th in Melbourne. But we have to find out, apart from visiting the beautiful SBG gym in Sydney, what are some of the other ideas that you've got or plans that you want to sort of tick off your list to do in Australia? I mean, we've spoken to fighters who wanted to go diving with the sharks, climb buildings, go to the beaches, surf waves. What are some of the things that you've sort of got planned for your trip? Some of the fun ideas, some of the fun things you want to get accomplished?
I literally today, my girlfriend sent me a video, and it was called, what was it called? Face Death? Something like this. And it was, you're basically in a tank with a crocodile that looked like it was about 20 meters long and weighed about 2 tons. But I saw the address was Darwin, so I don't think my girlfriend didn't realize just how far that is from Sydney. But I guess we're going to be mostly around Sydney and Melbourne. In Sydney is where my friend I spoke about there, Ben Carr, is, and also my long time friend Rob Byrne. He was a citizen now of your great country, but he left Ireland over 10 years ago. So I'm going to just be hanging out with them, and I'm going to leaning on them to give me the tour of Sydney and show me all the cool spots. I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open-minded guy. Probably my girlfriend's a bit more of a risk taker than me. She'd want to get in the water with the great whites and all your killer animals out there. I'll probably sit on the side of the boat and throw fish guts in there just to see how she gets on with them. But other than that, yeah, I'm just, like I said, I've never been that side of the planet, and I'm a spider fan. I keep tarantulas, so I'm big into kind of those sort of animals. So to be able to see them in the wildlife will be huge to me.
Oh, well, that's good. Death is always near, basically, when you're hanging with John Kavanagh. Now, you've always got your hands full with other fighters, obviously, like Adam Lobov and, Mark Wan and James Gallagher and Peter Queally and others. But considering the whirlwind year you've had last year, and with, Conor having no fights scheduled and currently being away indefinitely, what's that been like for you? Have you sort of found it that you've got a bit more downtime? You enjoy being able to take, kind of lay low a little bit, or is it still as crazy as ever?
Yeah, your finger's on the pulse, all right. On what you said, I have to be honest and say I thought that was how it was going to be when, last year was a bit crazy with him, and we did the big fight at the end of the year and he got the second belt. And in my own head, I was thinking, okay, 2017, I'm going to focus on some other things, and he's probably going to take some time off. And then, of course, the talk of the boxing fight took off. But even more than that, the rest of the fight team just start really things taking off. I mean, Gallagher's career's gone to the next level, another win in Bellator. I've got a couple of other fighters in Bellator, and then a bunch of other pros that that are so close to kind of getting to the next level. My gym membership is up at 800 now. We're talking at moving gyms. Me and my girlfriend are looking at buying our first house together. A tour, obviously, a month in Australia. So the days seem to be getting longer, but I'm enjoying them more and more every day.
Well, earlier this month, he tweeted out, "A drought is usually followed by a storm. It has only begun." And then on Valentine's Day, he said, "Other big announcements imminent." Can you elaborate? What did you mean by those tweets?
Yeah, I will. My mother got on to me about them, so I clearly wasn't clear. I wasn't clear on what I meant. The big fight announcement imminent was about one of my pros, Iron Pascu. We were trying to get him on the Cage Warriors card, and it didn't happen. But then he was announced as co-main event on ACB in Manchester, which is a big European show. And Artem got a big fight. Gunnar Nelson got a big fight. So for me, who's not just concerned about one of my fighters, I have a big team. For me, that was a drought being suddenly, a lot of fights being announced, and Artem being main event, Gunny getting on the main card, Ian Pascu getting co-main event on a big show in Europe. All of those were like big announcements for me. I get, and I sometimes forget, that most people who read my tweets probably just hear about Conor, so I could see how it was misinterpreted, but that I wasn't referring to him in any way.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of people expected it as something to do with Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. And, I mean, you mentioned it before. I mean, you got to give it to us straight. From 0 to 100%, how close is this fight to becoming a reality, John?
I can't answer that because it seems I'm not privy to all that's going on. I'm a bit lost in my own world with MMA, and I've got all my own fighters, and my gym is really taken off. And like I said, I'm trying to buy a house and so on and so forth. It seems like it's coming. When or how definite, I don't know. But it's looking more likely, and the two guys seem to want it, and they're making moves towards it. But I won't lie, I don't know. Is the short answer. There seems to be a lot of steps to get over with various commissions involved and different promotions involved and so on and so forth. But it's a fight that's gaining more and more momentum every day, and more people want to see it. So if you're asked just me, my personal uneducated opinion on it, I would say that I believe it's going to happen.
I mean, in your great book, you talk about how McGregor first came to you and he was more of a boxer and you sort of turned him into an MMA fighter. When you sort of think about this fight, are you a fan of this? Because a lot of people are saying, obviously, Mayweather, one of the greatest boxers of all time. Not many people are giving McGregor a chance in this. It's a lot of people are being skeptical about it. Are you a fan of this move? Are you a fan of this fight happening?
100%. I love challenges in this. Less so. Conor's a lot more competitive than me, but I would love the challenge of it and the spectacle of it and the level of interest. I mean, back in the day, it was Muhammad Ali and God, his name escapes me now, but the first kind of MMA/boxing fight. The rules were a bit weird. But,
against Inoki?
Sorry, exactly. Yeah, that's who it was. I would love to see the challenge of it. For Conor to test himself in that area. I'll be honest, like right from the beginning, I've been used to hearing, you can't do this, you can't do that, you won't train somebody up to a UFC level coming from Ireland, you don't have wrestling or grappling, it's impossible to fight for a world title, it's impossible to hold 2 world titles, it's impossible to have a 1,000 square meter gym dedicated to MMA. So I've just heard those things my whole life, and yet here I am. I'm talking to you, and I've a best-selling book, and I'm coming to Australia to talk about that, and I've got a world-renowned gym. So we're kind of used to being told what we can't do, but we don't pay too much attention to it. We just get on with it and make things happen.
And we got to ask you, John, sort of just before we let you go and as we wrap up, obviously your job is just to train Conor, and you're not sort of worried about, whatever obstacle comes your way, you just have to deal with it. But when you have all these opportunities and all these possibilities, and you've got Mayweather, you've got GSP, obviously GSP's now coming back, which one are you sort of leaning towards? Which one stands out to you more?
there's kind of two ways of looking at it. Like, my love is MMA. That's the sport that I love. I think any other combat sport is a subset of mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts is the freest form of combat sport there is. So that's my love. So, and I'm a big fan of Conor's fighting in MMA. So, yeah, my number one thing would be Conor to fight MMA. That's my number one thing. That's my selfish number one, what I would like to see. Which opponent? I've said it before. The Nate rematch interests me a lot because it's 1-1 and how the styles match up. Almost on a par with that, not much difference, will be the winner of Khabib and Ferguson this weekend. I think Khabib does it, so I think Khabib will be the winner. So Khabib will be the matchup out of that. Below that will be GSP, purely because GSP was an incredible fighter, big fan of him. I've learned a lot from watching his fights. Mm-hmm. But it's a long time since he's fought, and the game changes very, very quickly. And I think Khabib is sort of like a better version of GSP. Although we don't know. It's hard to tell how GSP and Khabib would match up. But, yeah, MMA-wise, Nate or almost on a par winner of Khabib Ferguson.
So just on that, John, I mean, Dana White said it in the post-fight press conference that McGregor will defend his belt against the winner of that fight. Do you think it's likely that we see McGregor defend his belt at least once against one of those guys, depending who wins this weekend?
I find it hard to imagine not seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even with Conor getting the if and when the Mayweather fight was to happen, and he got that out of the way, I know, like myself, I do believe his true love is free combat sport, and there is no freer combat sport than mixed martial arts. And he is the UFC lightweight champion. I mean, he did only win it a couple of months ago, so he is the lightweight champion. So I can't imagine him not fighting the winner of that. Now we got to see what happens with the Mayweather talks and all that. But yeah, I do believe that will happen. Yes.
All right, John. Well, we could chat with you forever, but unfortunately we have to let you go. The great thing is that we'll get that opportunity next month when you come down and we can hang out on stage and everybody can join in and participate. Before we do let you go, do you have any messages for your Australian fans about what they can expect? Obviously when you do come down, we know you're very humbled, and also we have to ask, will you be doing any seminars? Because that's the other big question that we're getting nonstop. Is John Kavanagh going to be doing seminars as well?
Yeah, I've just been waiting for a kind of exact details of flights. I'm trying to extend my stay to stay a bit longer, but I'm 100% going to be teaching at SBG Sydney, and I will probably drop in on one or two sessions from the Winter Warrior crowd that Richie Clancy has out there. I believe the UFC is going in Sydney and Melbourne, so 100% doing that. As for the night, you guys are so knowledgeable about MMA. I'm really looking forward to having a kind of an educated conversation on mixed martial arts, and I know there's a big MMA community out there, so I'd like for them to be able to hear where that conversation goes, and also talk a little bit in general terms about, the many, many messages I get from people outside of MMA that have drawn some positive inspiration from kind of our approach to our philosophy of training, which is really our philosophy of life, and kind of how that molded and evolved over the years and to where we are today. So that's kind of how I see the night going.
And with two shows and the fact that we'll be on stage with you, interviewing you for over 2 hours, and the fact that there will be a chance for fans to get in their fan Q&A and their questions, I think we're going to cover all that and a lot more. And honestly, it's a huge honor for us, and we absolutely can't wait to do it. Win or learn. It is an evening with John Kavanagh. For those who don't know, April 7th in Sydney at the Star Event Centre, and April 18th in Melbourne at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre. Get your tickets because they're available now, and there are meet and greet ones available as well. So you don't just have to listen to us and John talk. You can meet the man and talk to him yourself. And we are doing a competition at the moment where you can win free double passes to see John live. all you got to do is jump on iTunes, leave a review for Submission Raider. The link is in the description below, and email us at info@submissionraider.com to confirm your username and whether you want to attend Melbourne or Sydney. We will choose the best reviews, and you'll be on your way for free to attend this event. It's going to be a lot of fun. We can't wait, and we're giving away a free double pass every single week until the tour, so get onto it. Again, John, it's been a long time since you've been on the show. We had a long chance to miss you. We are very grateful and happy that you were able to come back on the show, and we'll be seeing you in April, so we look forward to that, and thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your time.
All right, take it easy, pal.